Good morning, everybody. I hope you all slept well and are fresh for day 2. Thank you very much to the Max Planck Digital Library for inviting me here. I'd like to talk today about the importance of resilient infrastructures. So it's a very good match, I think, to the topic of this conference. So just to give you a brief outline, I'm going to use the next 15 minutes approximately to take you through the last, let's say, 6 months that we had at ZBMed. So I'd like to set the context for the project that we have called Open Life Sciences Publication Database. So that's quite a mouthful, OLSPub, in the light of the geopolitical polarization that's going on right now. Looking back at the recent month, as I said, and then we will finish with a status quo of where we are today. So my boss, Dietrich Rebholz-Schuhmann, is going to show you a latest tool that we've developed at ZBMed. And of course, we are open for questions. So let's start. This slide is very chaotic, but I think it kind of mirrors a little bit of what we're all going through at the moment. I think 2025 has been quite an amazing and disturbing year. So obviously with things going on like a change of administration in the US and the war in Ukraine still going on, in the Middle East still happening, we do find ourselves, all of ourselves, in a position of kind of the old state of affairs where there's competition, there is political upheaval, polarization, there are tensions. Countries seem to be going back to, whoever first, could be Germany first, or whoever is first, US first. So there are national security concerns, and all of that pretty much all screams old world. And then on the other hand, on the right-hand side, we have the world we would like to live in, so the world of open science, interdependence, us working together. And there seems to be a clash of, is this still possible today? And of course, that was the overarching question of this conference. So I'd like to talk today about OLSPub and obviously explain to you what the problem is that we identified, not just us, a great number of people. So that there's PubMed that we are going to address. And so I kind of think that PubMed is a very good example, because while it's free to the world, it's based in the United States only, and it's paid by the United States only. So all of us have been, or should be very grateful, because we were able to use that tool, this biomedical database, for many, many years, and didn't have to worry about a thing while the United States was paying for that. I think what is particular in the case of what's happening to science and what's happening to infrastructure at the moment is when money is being taken away, or there's a risk of money being taken away, is also this little red thing on the left bottom there, which is science denialism or skepticism. And I think that is something that was kind of addressed yesterday very briefly, but that's a major problem, and that also got mentioned at the Falling Walls conference, which I'd attended over the weekend. And I think everybody, all the scientists, need to ask themselves how can we cope with that? So PubMed, I just, very boring for those of you who use it every day, but just for the ones who are not in the biomedical area or the life sciences area, PubMed is a fabulous database. It includes Medline, so we're talking about 30,000 journals, roughly 3 million queries a day, 9 million page views, 2.5 million users per day. So, I mean, this is really massive. One of the most heavily used biomedical databases, and as I said, free, gifted to all of us, available to all of us for now, but it's a proprietary database, and as I said, we're all depending on another nation's funding for this. So I think we all have to ask ourselves the questions if that's what if that's a risk we want to live with. And Jerome, I liked his presentation yesterday because he was showing us in this slide about, I think the first one was prevention and the second stage was protection. So I think we are with PubMed, we are somewhere in, the first step and the second step. So what are the risks? If the current administration, they could be cutting the access. So from one day to the next, millions of people would be losing out. Another threat is the removal of content. So, you know, it could be not all of it, but it could be some of it, which again is a major problem. Also, we were worried because of other things that were happening in the States, you know, with some collections and museums being changed and people being changed, etc., that there could be, you know, changes made to the content. And lastly, that's something that probably other people were thinking about earlier on, I think us as well, but when I was at Frankfurt Book Fair, that was another thing that was discussed, that there is an option that one says, okay, it's still available, but you know, everybody needs to pay for this. And if you're, I don't know, a physician somewhere in the world and you're using this, I don't know if it's, you know, easy for everybody to just come up with money to actually have access to this. So what's our role? ZBMed, the National Library of Medicine, and also a research center. We have a database called Livivo, and we are as dependent as the rest of the world. The Livivo is being fed with PubMed data. So, you know, like us, there are other people around the world. We all get this PubMed data on a daily basis, so we receive this every day. So we have experience with that data, and we also translate the German mesh. So we are experienced with mesh terms. We're dealing with life sciences as a research center as well, and we service the life sciences community in Germany. And in that role, we are networking in data science, national research infrastructure, and you know, like that's my role in the publishing environment, but also we are also a publisher, so we also publish diamond journals. And we're very committed to open source. And what's really important here is that you need to understand that the publishers are giving the data, so they're sending the data to America on a daily basis. So whatever we want to build as an alternative, you know, to meet that risk, we need the publishers to play along. So back in May, we handed in a project proposal to the DFG. You can all have these slides later on if you want to read through it in more detail. But there are three overall objectives in the proposal. So one is the data. So you know, we need a legal and technical framework to integrate journal titles currently indexed in Medline. That's super important. And we need as many publishers as possible. We want to create an access, so we need to build a platform for searching and accessing similar to PubMed and including mesh tagging. And we want this to be as open as possible. And so we're doing this within a network, so we need a robust and collaborative network of users and enablers to assist with the long-term development. So this is not just us on our own. And we want this to be as big, stable, and international as possible. So this is all very well, and this is addressing different groups here. So with the publishers, that's my role. I deal with consortia deals. I negotiate national deals and deals for the life sciences with publishers, with the legacy publishers, and open access publishers. So I'm kind of in the old world. So we want the publishers to deliver the metadata that are delivering metadata to PubMed at the moment on a daily basis to do the same to an additional API, which will be the OLSPub API. And one roadblock in this, I mean, we've already reached out to many publishers over the last few months, and we've had some really good results as well. So some of the really big ones are on board, but guess what? The biggest one doesn't want to play. So that's going to be a really interesting negotiation, and that can't be just us. I mean, that's where we have to go get together, as in other areas, with all the colleagues around Europe and maybe around the world to make that part of our negotiations. And, you know, just make sure that the publisher understands that this is super important for us here. We need to align the life science community, so we are discussing with colleagues within Europe and beyond to make sure that we align institutions and stakeholders with an interest in the topic so that we will be developing something together. And we need to establish a governance framework. That's very important. So all of these things we can't do on our own. And what has happened so far is that we have addressed politicians and multipliers and users and developers alike. We've run several webinars. We've been very, very open with what we've done so far and what we want to do. And so, as I said, we've already talked to publishers and have some already, we've received letters of support and they're ready to go where we are. So also we need standards and clear rules for the development of OLSPub with regards to transparency and openness, so we'll have to define those. So to give you, just to stick to my time, an idea of what has happened sort of on a timeline from, let's say, February where we were observing the first news up to now. So we handed in our proposal to the DFG in May. I missed out one point here. We had the defense in September. In October, we managed through our network to make it with our topic. We weren't there ourselves, but our topic made it to the EU Parliament. So we, got this infrastructure risk problem to STOA, so to discuss the future of science and technology. So they listened. So I think that's a first step. And then we're going to show you Pubservatory, which is a tool. So we are ready to release that, I think, maybe today. So we're definitely showing it today. So what are the next steps? Well, the next steps are we are awaiting the funding decision, I guess, this week from DFG. Parallel, we have handed in a second project application, a grant application, to DFG this week, and that's mainly data related, but we'll be doing the same thing, so we're trying everything to get money to get started. And if nothing sort of comes to fruition, because we've already lost a few months, I mean, we need people to actually do the programming and get us started. We're also considering crowdfunding, and that actually came from our community that they suggested that, so why aren't we doing this? So we are looking to that as well. We've also been approached by some funders who said they'd like to discuss this. While all of this was happening, we had ongoing press coverage, so that was very nice with many articles and many publications, and also we received a great number of letters of support. And so I'm not quite sure, but I think we will start in Q1 with this work. And I think in discussions, what became very obvious is that if you think, oh my God, there's this institution who wants to do it all, no, we can't do it all. We're very aware. We just want to get started because we've already spent from, let's say, May to now, and we haven't started yet. We're waiting for this money to come in. So basically, the risk is still there, so we're still in this prevention to protection stage, and we don't want to, wait for the next stage to happen, that we're all in chaos and disaster because this database might disappear. So that's it from me, and I'll ask Dietrich Rebholz-Schuhmann to come up here, and this is just a photo of our team, so we can't all be here today, but if you want to get in touch with us, there's a barcode to the OLSPub page on the internet, so you can look this up. And I will leave this and hand over to Dietrich Rebholz-Schuhmann. And thank you very much.
Many thanks to invite us here to present OLSPub and the work which is going around it. So I present a very short tool that we have prepared over summer, also due to a lot of community questions, demands. For those who don't know me, I'm the scientific director of ZBMed. I'm from the background, I'm a medical doctor. And since OLSPub, I'm even in the Deutsche Ärzteblatt, where I never believed that I ever would publish. And in between, I became a computer scientist, bioinformatician. I also worked with 10 years at EBI doing text mining services. I was involved in Europe PubMed Central build-up, then ran an institute on semantic web technologies. And now I'm running a library. Now I'm a librarian and doing a lot of work together with Petra Labriga. So over summer, we have been dealing with PubMed, we have dealing with the OLSPub project, and we turned in the proposal. but it comes in a little bit as a sideline. There was not a formal call, so there's a certain risk that we don't get the funding, but we continued the work, and we submitted yesterday evening, actually around midnight, the second proposal. But what I present here is something where the community asked us for. It's something where we, I hope this works. We have prepared this. Actually, the launch was supposed to be last week, but it was delayed due to some issues with the data. We call it Pubservatory, and what we have been asked for is, do we know or do we see that there are changes to PubMed? Do we know that it's up to date? Do we know whether there is really the mesh annotation working? Are there changes? Is there political influence? And then we said, okay, you get the data on a daily basis. Why don't we visualize it? Why don't we make it accessible, available? And so this is the data that we get from NLM on a daily basis. Sounds really easy. You take the data, you visualize it, and then you get something like this. In reality, it's a little bit more complicated because you have to read the data properly, you have to look at it, you have to count properly, you have to find mistakes. There's a lot of data cleansing going on. But the outcome is ready, and we will probably launch it today or tomorrow or end of the week. We still had to redo some of the data. And what does it? It shows you the timeline from for the last years, actually. But here you see the current year. And then in the data, we have two different things. We get on a daily basis what has been added, and we get on a daily basis what has been retracted. Retracted is the wrong word, what has been deleted, but not even deleted. It has been deleted and then republished. So there's a lot of work going on by receiving the data from the publishers, but then it has been changed or some details have been changed, and they don't take out the records as good data stewards, data guardians are doing. They just replace it with a new article. So we see here both lines, the edit documents, and we see the deleted ones, and the deleted ones is the interesting things. And so when going into it, then we can go over the different weeks and can look at what has been added or deleted over the last weeks. Here are the deletions. And what a lot of researchers are interested in is this kind of link to mesh terms. Is there changes to the mesh terms? Is there changes to the annotations? Is there some influence on the scientific data? And this can be now visualized, and this is now, even although this is now a tool where you can look at it, it's still a little bit the raw data because we are still looking into what makes the differences. So we still have to do work to figure out and show what has been just replaced over time. And so there will be further work and further, let's say, versioning. But at the moment, this data is ready, and if I see it correctly somewhere, I can go even to the past years, but I don't have it right now. The editions are certainly a lot longer, and they're grouped by the mesh terms, and when looking into this, you can even go down to the single articles and see whether something that you have published and you didn't find a medline should be there, but isn't there. Actually, this question was bothering me over the last, let's say, 20 years. Whenever I showed my own tools, which I developed at the EBI, the people asked me, why is there something not in or out, or why is it different for PubMed? Why are the countings different? So although this looks like rather very simplistic solution, tool, it solves actually a problem. And this is also in preparation for what we will be doing on OLSPub, because to some degree, this question, what has to be there and what hasn't to be there, doesn't go away. Even if we continue and then work together with the NLM, collect input from different sites, may integrate European publishers, we will still have the same question, what has to be there and what isn't there. And so this is the first preparatory work, and I stop here, so stay tuned. It will be available over this week.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the room? Oh, a lot of questions.
Thank you very much. I think there are so many interesting questions, but maybe two. One is whether this is a more collaborative or more an adversarial approach, what the colleagues there think about it, if you know. And the second question is, I would be specifically interested if you can and want to talk about it, about this data-related project that you're also pursuing.
The last one, yesterday evening, right? The one that we submitted, the resilience one, right? So, okay. Reselmet. Yes. So this is not very collaborative, apart from the fact that we work together with the NLM to use the data, but this is not a big thing. It took us maybe 2 or 3 months to build this. It was more thinking, and but we can make this available or can work together. So if you have questions, so what we are seeking is somebody who is interested in really looking into what are the differences of the types of data. So there are some things to do, but apart from this is a visualization of PubMed data. So this is not a heavily collaborative project. And but we will continue there. Then the project that we submitted yesterday is purely around the submission side, and the data security. So one thing that we filtered out of OLSPub is what we have to do now, as we do things now. So we chose to signal to the DFG that whatever happens in the near future, the data which is ready now should be available now in the state that is let's say, ready. And this sounds easy because the data as such is available through different sites, through your PubMed Central, through Livivo, through a lot of other solutions. But we signal that keeping it up to date on a daily basis is still a task to be done. I think that it is, as long as the NLM is working like this, that's all fine. But we want to be prepared for the moment where this is not working as properly as we would like. So at the moment it looks a little bit better with the shutdown, but all the cost cutting is ongoing, as always, as everywhere, as here in Germany too. But we don't know what will happen in the near future. So the directorship in the NLM is, I think, open. And so there are changes. There's a couple of positions open in the NLM. So let's see. We are not worried about the NLM. At the moment, it's working. We want to collaborate. We are really open. We want to make the solutions accessible. We are really open science fans. And so I believe that we can give a big contribution, but we want to be ready to have no disruption in the near future. Does it answer the questions only about the submission and the distribution of the data that PubMed makes about? So that's the core question we tackled with the proposal.
Just maybe to clarify, so you don't exchange it all.
Please use the microphone, because otherwise the online community will not hear it.
So maybe just to clarify about the first question. So at this point, this is neither collaborative nor adversarial. There's basically just no contact with them. About you monitoring them? The
monitoring, well, if you want to collaborate, come to us, we do. But nobody asked for this at the moment.
I'm not talking about collaboration here or in Germany. I'm talking about you monitoring somebody else doing something, and these people might like it or not, and then this was my question.
No, we make it, yes, just go ahead.
Okay. We have been in touch with the NLM very early in the process, and there was no talk. I mean, they couldn't. But we saw this in a number of medical librarians in the US that, we went to some meetings where, it was kind of undercover, and they were all saying like, oh, there are no emails, there's nothing, we can't travel, we have to play dead for now. But that wasn't NLM, but there were other people. So I think it's really, really difficult in this phase of big uncertainty to, do anything. So basically, but a colleague of ours, at IFLA, she had a brief meeting with PubMed people, and they said everything's fine, which is great. But the question is, do we want to rely on that? Because we don't know, right? So, but we're very willing to cooperate if.
Okay, then I put it the following way. On this tool, there was no collaboration, but we had a lot of discussions and communication about OLSPub with a lot of different people. And I think this will continue. But it's all kind of different, let's say, communications and discussions about collaborations.
Yes.
John Ioannidis from Stanford. I was wondering, these initiatives, how much do they cost, to your budget? And also, how much redundancy there is to this? I mean, I can definitely see the plan to try to salvage essential resources. But, I'm thinking if each country is trying to do this, or, if other entities try to do this, there may be a lot of redundancy. I think when PubMed was launched, it was pretty much it. Now there's OpenAlex, there's Google Scholar, there's zillions of other resources for people to find papers, actually far more papers than PubMed has. I mean, PubMed is one out of multiple sources. Many of them are completely open with no fee for, profit entities maintain them. And I do worry about some lack of communication. I mean, from my US perspective, I don't really see any signal that NLM will go away or PubMed will go away. It sounds like a science fiction scenario to me. There have been changes in the past, very silent. Nobody really talked about them. For example, some of them really serious. PubMed Commons disappeared at some point. And, very, very few people noticed that, but still some non-profit entities salvaged somehow the content of these comments. So I really worry that, there's some divide here and some redundancy, and I'm wondering about the cost of all of that, let alone the emotional cost to all of us. That one day we will wake up and, oh goodness, we can't see the literature any longer.
You get two views, the one from Petra Labriga, top down, and I'm more the bottom up guy.
Okay, I mean, me first. It's very, very important that this is not seen as something that's just a German thing. I mean, we're going to cooperate with, a number of people. Even with Canada, if they want to, they're further away, but really this is very much an EU thing. And I hope you're right. I hope that nothing will ever happen. And I think you just see this in so many areas of our life at the moment. And I hate to bring this up, but we also relied on the US for protection, like military protection. And now, guess what? We have to find a lot of money to do it ourselves, and probably it's even fair. And I think with resilient infrastructure, we just have to think. I mean, this is the topic of this conference, unfortunately. So I think that, it might be money that is spent twice, but I think, and there are also these changes that, as I said, PubMed is not really an open source thing. And the idea behind us, and we had this in our first proposal, is that, something bad can happen in every country, and we were talking about this yesterday as well. So if you have an open source infrastructure, it can be picked up by anybody. Yeah. And what you were saying about OpenLX and all of them are fed by PubMed at the moment. So the basic problem is that we need a second collection of data, and that we want to have this directly from the publishers. So I don't know if this is really an answer to your question or your comment, but what does it cost? Well, to get started, we ask for very little money.
I can. No? I think it's a two-stage thing. I
can whisper it to you later on.
That's a two-stage thing, and we asked the DFG exactly the question: should we try to get everybody else first involved? And they told us, "You rather get going and submit the proposal and make it reasonable." And this is normal funding, so this is to get going. The second stage is the more difficult: how to run this in a resilient way. Long term, and here EBI is probably the master of doing this here in Europe, but we do have also experience in infrastructure. So the second phase is probably the more difficult one, but there's really a strong opportunity because we do it open source, open science, and this has a benefit. So there are some costs coming back to us to run it this way, and I think this is the lesson of today. But the second opportunity is the European bit, because all the mesh annotations, they have been run by, let's say, volunteers like us or idealists like us, not the mesh overall, which is run by NLM, but doing the German, the French, the English, and it's very interesting to see how this is done. And so there are opportunities, but we open up the discussion. We have opened it up already, and I think the cost will probably go up 3 or 4 or 5 times when running it on a long term. And there are a lot of interests involved in the whole thing. So that's also another thing. We cannot just start and say, okay, we do PubMed 2, and then everybody looks at us and says, hey, what are you doing there? It's really strange, crazy. You better talk to NLM, as we like to and want to and do. But running this on a longer term will be a different story. And whether we run it or MBLEBI takes this on your PubMed Central, or different countries take this on, we are open to everything of this.
Thank you. We are running a little bit out of time, but I want to address the online question that we have. And I encourage everyone who has still questions here in the room to catch both of you in the break.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, the online question. What is the legal status of the legacy data of PubMed? Could you use a copy of the full data?
A very good question. We have been dealing with this yesterday to figure out how exactly to do this, and it's not an easy question. So it is. We looked into all the legal documents. It's getting a little bit difficult. So you look at the abstracts, you look at the license agreement, which is there. Half of the abstracts have one, the other ones doesn't have one. But so far, the single articles, I think we can distribute. Whether the whole collection is under legal requirements, we still have to have a second look. But we will comply with all the requirements. So this is something we are, but the setup of the big project, so that talking about the project yesterday, we have a problem. Talking about the OLSPub project, overall, we have less of a problem because there we talk to the publishers directly. So it's a different thing, different story. But getting into this legal stuff, although everything is openly available, making it openly available is nice, great, and we have to maintain this. But it's not that easy to reach, and we have to deal with the legal stuff. But Petra Labriga has a lot of experience and is dealing with a lot of people on this, is dealing with a lot of lawyers on this, reading a lot of these agreements, and we get through this.
Thank you very much.
Okay.